I had the idea of cuties when one day during a neighborhood gathering in Paris, a group of very young dancers came on stage and they were dancing like what we are used to seeing in a video clip. And I was surprised because of their age. They were only 11 years old.
Where to even begin? So, August 18th, 2020, a little trailer comes out for a new Netflix movie. Although a Netflix original, it actually got its official release back in January, premiering at the 2020 Sundance Film Festival and even taking home the prestigious award for Best Directing, which is a big deal when you consider this was the directorial debut of French director Maimouna Decoré. So you'd think this achievement would be indicative of the film's overall quality, a testament to its ability to carry out a message in a tactful and otherwise inoffensive manner. But unfortunately, it isn't. In fact, it's kind of the exact opposite of that.
Cuties. This promo photo was released a few weeks ago.
To be honest with you, it was pretty much, pedophile bait.
The fact that Cuties is on Netflix is nothing shy of a crime, in my opinion.
They're trying to get the Department of Justice involved. It's kind of a lot.
Now, right as this trailer was uploaded to the official Netflix YouTube channel, the internet broke out into a full-on riot, being the top trend on Twitter for the following 48 hours, with YouTubers, professional reactionaries, and even politicians weighing in on the streaming giant's decision to promote this atrocity of a trailer. And when I say atrocity, I mean it.
One for the party, two for the shawty, three when you shake your bum.
This movie was shaping up to be one of the worst received projects Netflix had ever signed off on. And for good reason too, as just about every piece of promotional material seemed to depict the same damn thing. Young 11-year-old actors in compromising positions. Naturally a PR nightmare for anyone involved with the project. But as the backlash ensued and news of Cuties continued to ripple across the internet, Netflix was forced to publish a statement for the sake of damage control, where they essentially took responsibility for the otherwise piss-poor marketing job, chalking up the bulk of the negative reception to their own inability to do the film's true message any justice, which was said to condemn the very sexualization of children we saw across the entire campaign. And although I was still a bit skeptical, I wanted to remain somewhat optimistic. And with only a limited amount of footage available to the public, coupled with some shockingly positive reviews from critics, I wanted to believe this film was merely the victim of American executives' insensitive, disgusting judgment. I wanted to believe this film was merely a misunderstood critique on the hypersexualization of children in today's online culture. That's what I wanted to believe. But as I've learned, we can't always get what we want. Because I watched Cuties, and I sure as didn't like what I saw. But before we get too ahead of ourselves, and because there's no way in hell I'm getting this video monetized, we do have a sponsor. Video editing is very important when building a YouTube channel. And because Adobe Premiere can often seem pretty intimidating to anyone just starting out, Filmora 9 is here to assist. Its extremely clean and simple interface makes Filmora 9 one of the most user-friendly editing softwares available, and can serve as the perfect introduction to video editing with the abundance of titles and effects to be found in their effect library film stock. Not only can you edit in 4K, but this software comes equipped with color correction, audio ducking, really all of the basic elements needed in order to get your channel off the ground. And if you get stuck, there are countless editing tips and tutorials to be found just on their YouTube channel. Click the link in the description below to get started making your own videos today. Massive thanks to Filmora 9 for helping me out where YouTube's AdSense couldn't.
My great pleasure to say hello to a friend and a very talented writer-director, Maimouna Decoré, who's here in competition with her first feature film, Cuties.
One of the main and only defenses I've seen of this movie thus far has to do with the contextual elements of the plot that its critics are purposely choosing to overlook. According to a spokesperson from Netflix, an unnamed one, conveniently, the film Cuties is a social commentary against the sexualization of young children. It's a story about the pressure young girls face on social media and from society more generally growing up, which on the surface sounds like a pretty valuable and innocuous message. One that's probably more relevant now with the rampant popularity of apps like TikTok and Instagram. I think it's important to acknowledge the long-term corrosive effects these newfound societal norms can have on the young children who perpetuate them. It speaks to multiple facets in today's online climate. Things like the way we handle popularity and the actions we feel pressured into in order to achieve the otherwise fickle standards set for us by a culture so obsessed with vanity and short-term approval from strangers. It's an important conversation to have, as the director herself went out of her way to reportedly meet with hundreds of preteens who described how they felt about femininity in today's society. So what I'm wondering is how a concept so seemingly nuanced in its intent morphed into something so utterly diabolical in its execution. Because this is not condemning the sexualization of kids. If anything, this movie borderlines on glorifying it. And that is where this piece of shit film falls flat on its face.
All the flowers are blooming.
So although this movie would probably be boring and stupid and useless to anyone not named Jeffrey Epstein, I think it's important to shed as much light onto the plot itself if we're going to be tearing it to shreds throughout the course of this review. Sound fair? Yeah, I think so. The film centers around an 11-year-old girl named Amy, growing up in a traditionalized Muslim conservative household, where she's taught to obey the customary ways of her religion and uphold a very specific set of principles that she isn't too sure of. Because on the other hand of wanting to please her family, she's still a preteen at the end of the day. She has urges to act out and go against the wishes of her mother, who clearly holds more conventional beliefs. Which, okay, whatever, you know, a girl torn between two contrasting lifestyles. A completely original idea that hasn't been explored any other time before now, I think. But I wouldn't want to write it off just because the plot isn't the most groundbreaking. I mean, this movie could still carry a lot of merit through a variety of themes, imagery. Oh yeah, and 4 minutes in, there's an ass shot of another 11-year-old girl. Great. So already, not even 5 minutes into this 96-minute torture sesh, the movie has already proven to me that it cares less about its initial messaging than its ability to generate some kind of volatile reaction from the audience through the means of its borderline criminal imagery. I mean, this is one of the tamer shots too, compared to the leg-stretching crotch zoom we get later, or the child flashing her bare nipple at the screen. It's evil, dude. I can barely read this stuff out loud without my stomach churning. Obviously, if you have a darker tonal message to convey, you'd probably want to emphasize that through the means of graphic images in order to generate a desired reaction from your audience. But when the subject matter is something like children being sexually exploited, the context starts to lose all meaning. Because despite whatever intent may have originally been there, you're still forcing a child actor to go through all of these stunts. It's sort of entirely hypocritical when you consider what the movie is trying to say. Having random ass shots just interlaced throughout a supposed coming-of-age story is an entirely backwards and just weird choice for them to make. They make it very clear that Amy is interested in becoming friends with the cuties, probably as a result of the traditional values being forced upon her by her mother, who we also learn is having to deal with the added stress of her husband taking on a second wife, who feels the need to hide her emotions from her daughter, who still finds out about it. Yeah, it doesn't really go over too well. I guess as a way to air her own feelings towards everything going on at home, Amy dedicates herself to fitting in with the cool, twerking dancer girls at school, who just start off as being unnecessarily mean to her for no reason.
Du mich nicht verstehen, hast du dich nach zu glotzen?
Like, okay, what the f is your problem? Amy steals her cousin's phone and uses it to look at porn. Kidding, okay? The writers would never do something like that. Except they would, but not without entirely disturbing dialogue, mind you. Oh yeah, and then the cuties dare Amy to take a candid picture of another boy's penis at the urinal. Why was this necessary? I don't. Amy wants to become a dancer more than anything, and she'll stop at nothing until she's twerking her 11-year-old behind on stage next to her 11-year-old friends. Even if it means filming the rehearsal in the woods where one of the girls picks up a condom and blows into it like a balloon. Why? They all make fun of Amy for her appearance and point out how quote-unquote flat she is, which leads to her feeling more self-conscious about her own body. Again, a very real and legitimate issue young girls have to deal with when being bullied by popular kids their age. But that kinda loses all meaning 10 minutes later when Amy is teaching the girls how to twerk right. There's an entire sequence here where Amy is showing the cuties step by step how to move in provocative ways in order to win a dance competition. I can't show you too much of it, but I can assure you it goes on for way too long, involves extremely questionable camera angles, and even depicts Amy spanking one of the girls. To say that the critics are the ones making this shit sexual is truly beyond me. The perverse direction of this movie could not be more blatant, and I'm shocked that this passed through as many people as it did in order to get approved.
Just the fact that these are real children in a movie, like their parents gave it the okay. Like if I was a parent and I took one look at that script, I would just call the police.
One of the cuties, Angelica, was introduced to dancing on account of her own difficult home life, turning to a new life of hypersexuality for reasons similar to Amy. So the movie is basically saying that broken families can often lead the emotionally vulnerable down a path of desperation, forcing those individuals to make rather corrupt choices in the process, which is a little concept I like to call I mean, this shit goes without saying. Your decisions in life are always going to reflect your given circumstances. It's like the furthest thing away from being profound, and goes to show how much of a shallow shit show this thing really is. Because frankly, at this point, anyone who tries to defend the artistic merit behind this kind of movie would probably be better off locked in a cage.
It's a solid film. It's a good movie. Definitely better than most movies. There are probably thousands of people masturbating to this film. Yeah, as far as like sexy music videos go, it's not bad.
What the fuck? Is this a joke?
So let's put the morality of that aside and just take her art at face value. It's pretty interesting to be forced to do something. It's kind of like The Last of Us too. It's a great game. To be forced to do something that you're uncomfortable with, and to have to grapple with what role you're playing in the creation of the culture that these girls are participating in.
How about shut the fuck up? Because the thing is, it's really, really not that deep. The film indirectly personifies a battle between execution and intent, showing how an initial message can sometimes become lost and watered down upon implementation. Because truthfully, there are so many other ways you could go about conveying the idea that sexualizing kids is bad. Maybe through a book, maybe by casting adult actors, or even just doing some kind of documentary, just some way that doesn't involve exploiting the lives and bodies of actual child actors. And to bend over backwards justifying the non-existent integrity of such a depiction really goes to say a lot about you as a person, doesn't it?
I don't know if you've ever heard of the app TikTok. There's some pretty interesting stuff on there that I've checked out, and I recommend you check it out.
Really? What could you possibly mean by that, I wonder?
Girls of all ages are dancing and guys are dancing like this. Dances have become more explicitly sexual.
I should check out an app with all ages of dancers. Is that what you're saying?
But then, you know, I listen to everybody saying these things, and I think we just sound the same as, like, old fogies did in the 50s and 60s.
Yeah, except it's literally not that. To compare boomers clutching pearls over rock music and scantily clad teenagers in the 60s and 70s to children being actually sexually exploited by a large corporation such as Netflix is dishonest and just fucking insulting. Dude, come on. Are you trying to be stupid?
Spoilers. I'm gonna spoil the whole movie, by the way. So if you want to watch the movie, just watch the movie. You should watch it. It's good.
It's not. There is no reason to watch this movie. Don't watch it.
As these girls are doing increasingly provocative and increasingly sexual dance moves, almost to the point where it starts to feel surreal when they're like wiping their hands on their crotches. I think from the back, if memory serves. I'll have to watch it again and again and again.
I actually cannot tell if this person is joking, if this entire channel is just one whole elaborate irony stunt.
Your orgasm is not my responsibility. That's my idea for the video. That's the theme. Specifically you. Shaking their booties on this stairway as they make this this viral video, and they're pretty hot. And you know, you can say whatever you want about me. It's not my fault. I didn't make them do that. They did that.
Yeah, actually, it's the girl's fault for being so sexy.
That's the point. That's the whole point of the movie, is that you're supposed to be sitting there thinking, look at the blonde one. You're supposed to be sitting there holding these two thoughts in your head, and one that these are kids, and the other that they're hot.
Nope, I'm pretty sure that's just you, bud. Hate to break it to you, but it's actually the furthest thing from normal to have those thoughts cross into your mind ever. It's hilarious that anyone would out themselves like this. And for what? For what? I mean, so you can get got by the FBI and be locked behind bars?
It's more like you're just supposed to be informed that you are capable of that and that you feel that way. And I already knew that, but
yeah, I take it back. Maybe that's where you belong, actually. He even admits it's exploitative and is still okay with it existing.
Now, is it exploitative? Yes, definitely. These kids are 11, so they don't really understand what they're doing. Like, if you have a daughter who's 11 and likes doing sexy TikTok dances where she's shaking her ass all the time, and then some well-meaning and I assume not creepy filmmaker comes along and they're like, I'd like to pay your daughter to shake her ass. I guess I would say yes, but I would say it with the knowledge that she's going to be really pissed off about it later.
It really just makes me wonder if this guy is doing some kind of elaborate joke. He's playing some kind of fictional character that we're all just falling for, because there's no way someone could be the, oh hey, look, he's actually been arrested for making threatening comments and sympathizing with the Virginia Tech shooter. Fantastic. Maybe it's best if we just don't take this guy seriously in any capacity whatsoever.
I was really good in bed when I was 16. I was really good in bed. First person I had sex with, she said afterward, I didn't know anything could feel that good. I had my hand like cranked under there, and I was rubbing her clit, and she was on top, and she had a great time. And then
another significant moment of this garbage fucking stupid lame-ass plot that I and many others have picked up on is the scene in which the cuties are trapped in a laser tag arena for some reason, I don't fucking, and are stopped by security guards on their way out. So to get out of this little pickle, this little quagmire, they decide it's only necessary that they twerk for the guards in order to let them go. And you know what? It works. It fucking fucking works. The guards are so entranced by these children dancing provocatively that they just figure, why not? It, you know, we'll let them go. I mean, just look at their faces. These guys should almost be locked up just for agreeing to participate in this scene alone. And what a terrific message, too. Yeah, if you're caught in a bind, ladies, don't hesitate to just use your body to get out of it. Doesn't matter if you're 31, 21, or evidently 11. Just act sexual, then you can do whatever you want. It's a privilege. Just another example of this backwards writing conflicting with the director's supposed message. There are hardly any other indications throughout the film that may insinuate this could possibly be a bad thing. The film eventually crescendos into a scene where the cuties are performing on stage, twerking in front of an audience. It goes on for a very, very long time, and eventually it just ends with Amy having a sudden breakdown and running home to her family. She decides this life isn't for her, even though there's really no prior event that made her change her mind on this. She just kind of gives up and decides to live her life how she wants. It doesn't make any sense and absolutely does not justify the hour of horror displayed beforehand. She doesn't even face any consequences for, oh, you know, stabbing a kid, pushing another child in a river, fighting another girl, where, you know, you see her panties, by the way. That was another... That's another big one. And then it just ends. It's over. There's no lesson to be learned. Besides the fact that, you know, maybe you should never watch a movie by this director again. But besides a few adults at the end cringing at the provocative dancing they're being forced to witness on stage, every other plot element in this movie is directly in support of whatever these girls are doing to break the conformity of their traditionalized lifestyles at home. Honestly, it feels like more of a critique on Islam than a sexualized internet culture. It's more or less painting traditional beliefs in a negative light as a means to justify the heinously sexual path the cuties take as a form of rebellion. And I just can't understand how any of this needed to be necessary.
One uniting thing that in all the madness of the current state of the world that we can agree on that this sort of stuff is inappropriate and is wrong and is a slippery slope, then I think all hope is lost for society.
Now, one of the biggest reasons this movie has reached the eyes of so many people who otherwise probably never would have heard of cuties is because of the politicized aspect of it. So what about the movie is political, you ask? Well, nothing, really. I mean, there are a few harmless feminist themes that I guess you could maybe kind of trace by analyzing some of the film's metaphors, but that's not really relevant to the rest of the discussion when there are real children being exploited. But it would seem this movie has still been used as some sort of pawn by pundits on the right and the left in an attempt to further some kind of twisted political agenda. For example, there have been a very vocal group of conservatives who see this film as being the embodiment of leftist ideals or something. It's thanks to people like Ian Miles Chong, who amplify these kinds of idiotic and politically charged talking points. It doesn't really legitimize what he's saying, but it at least pushes it to more people and angers the masses in a way that probably is justified, but for all the wrong reasons. Like, I'm sorry, bitch, but cuties existing is not grounds to re-elect Donald Trump. But hey, I mean, this is the same guy who got a dog flashbanged and tried to kill his ex-best friend via police shooting, so yeah, are we really surprised?
He forced my hand, so I called the police. I actually called the police on him. He's fucked. I even talked to them on the phone. So, who knows? Maybe they'll pay him a visit very soon.
Regardless, it's this kind of rhetoric that actually gives the movie more validation in a way. Because now you've got idiotic liberal think pieces insisting cuties is the target of an alt-right smear campaign, lumping any and all criticism of the film in with the vocal reactionaries taking a stand against it. Now, personally, I'm about as far left as they come, but I mean, in this context, it's a waste of time to argue about which political party supports what. Because because all that does is give you a reason to hate the other side even more than you already do. Anybody and everybody who isn't a self-identified map should be opposed to the existence of this wretched movie, and should fight to kick it off of Netflix. There have already been a wave of petitions following the film's release that Netflix still hasn't even responded to. But at least there's clearly some pushback there. I mean, hell, if Netflix isn't gonna respond to actual politicians demanding the movie be taken down, I doubt anything's gonna get done at this point. All we can do is educate and warn others of the grotesque themes woven throughout this disgusting mess of a film. And politicizing its message isn't gonna get us anywhere good in the meantime.
It has no actual message that speaks out against the sexualizing of kids. I didn't see it. I didn't see it at all. It almost feels like it's a movie that's apologetic to it and condones it because it's a whole movie dedicated to it.
I've seen people go to extreme lengths in order to justify cuties. But at the end of the day, no one can counter the fact that this movie directly enables predators. This movie didn't need to exist. All it does is give borderline child pornography a mainstream platform, which is something you should be outraged about no matter where you stand on the political compass. Regardless of intent, this movie is shoving sexualized 12-year-old actors in your face. And to me, that's where art loses any and all of its so-called value. You're exploiting the sexuality of real human beings. Kids who aren't even capable of understanding what they're doing yet. It's almost like some topics just shouldn't even be approached in this way. With the subject of pedophilia being as traumatizing and as sensitive as it is, I really hate to see it being polished and pushed to such a wide audience under the guise of artistic genius and boundary pushing. It's not art, it's fucking disgusting. And if you try and tell me that I'm missing the point or that I just don't get it, then I'm just not going to listen to you. And if that's intolerant of me, then so be it. But I don't even think that's a controversial take. The original intent of Cuties may have included a difference of perspective and nuance in its attempt to condemn the hyper-sexualized culture of which the movie was brought about. But to me, that messaging flies directly in the face of the absolutely sickening execution. Because no amount of context in the world would be able to justify some of the unnecessarily promiscuous and downright repulsive shots they force you to examine throughout this dreadful piece of media. It's not art, it's not empowering, it's just fucking weird.
Keep on, keep running.